I'm going to the U.S. Wait a minute. Seriously? No, you're not. Come on, Mom. I got this great scholarship. It's a full-day scholarship. I got to go. I'm going to go do some graduate work in the U.S. No, you're not. You can't leave. A month later, I was in Columbus. To my parents' dismay and anger, coming to Columbus was interesting. At the beginning, it was shocking. You have to get used to a lot of things you're not used to. Transportation, all these people, all these cars, and but despite all the newness of it, I was very excited because I was going to do what I wanted to do. After I started to, I had to enroll in classes and everything, so I had to fill out all kinds of forms. And these forms, I had to check boxes, which I was not used to. Boxes that said African American, Caucasian, Indian, Asian, Hispanic, all kinds of boxes. And I never knew what kind of box I fit in because I was coming straight from Costa Rica where you don't check boxes. You are a national of Costa Rica, and that's what you are first, and after, you are whatever it is that you are. So that was very different. That's when I actually realized that I was, it's not that I did not know I was black, but that's when I actually realized that here in the U.S., black was going to be first than anything else. After that, I started classes. Everything was going fine. I was having a lot of fun. But then I started noticing that I was labeled African American, which is not a problem because, like I said, I'm very proud of who I am. I'm proud of my blackness. However, when you're labeled African American, there is this baggage of things that comes with it. There's these expectations, like, for example, I had to know the history of the struggle of African Americans in the U.S. I had to know answers to rap questions, like rap music, which I didn't know. I had to know about food. I had to know about all these things that I didn't. I wanted to learn about it, but I didn't. So I ended up not being really considered too black in my department. There was also assumptions made about me, like, maybe not too smart, maybe needed a little bit extra time, all these different things that I wasn't used to. There were also suspicions about me. For example, when I went to a store, sometimes people just follow me through the store. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything. But that's the way it was. And I realized that it came with being African American. Later on, my kids are born. 2 kids, Max and Dorian. And then I started worrying about my kids because they were going to school. And I wondered, how are they going to be treated at school? And we had a few issues here and there. Name calling. My son labeled violent because he reacted to name calling. Or sometimes my son being called not too smart because he was too active. All kinds of things started happening. Different grading system for my son. So I realized that it also comes with being African American, which is an awful thing that we have to deal with. There was also the fact that when my son started driving, great, now he can go to school by himself. Whew. But then there's another worry. I have to worry about him driving to school. And I did not worry until he was stopped by the police. And he was just driving to school. It was just 2 miles to get to school. And he was stopped by the police. So then, although we had already had the talk about being careful, we had to reinforce again, honey, when you drive in certain neighborhoods, even though it is our neighborhood, you have to be careful. Do what the police says. If you need to raise your hands, raise your hands. Get out of the car and do not turn your back. Or if you have your wallet in the car, when you get in the car, put it somewhere where you don't have to reach into your pockets. which is something that I, as a Costa Rican, I was not used to. And it's an awful thing for parents to have to deal with that. I think it is ironic that we are African American and we are so visible. I mean, you can see us anywhere. However, it is this visibility that makes us invisible a lot of times because sometimes we don't matter. That was the one label that changed the way I was and who I became and who I am now. I am proud of being labeled African American because I cannot help but to say, yes, I am African American. I am part of this group of people who have struggled through centuries and we have survived. And we keep on surviving and we will keep on surviving. The next label that I will tell you about happened in 1992 when I graduated from the Ohio State University. Even though my parents did not want me to come, I ended up getting 2 master's degrees from the Ohio State University, and then they were very happy. So everything was good then. So I went back to Costa Rica, worked for 2 years. I became a professor at the University of Costa Rica because that was what I needed to do to fulfill my requirement for the scholarship. After those 2 years, I married to my ex-husband, who is from Columbus. So I came back to the U.S. on August 13, 1994. That's when I entered the U.S. as, to stay here. So I'm married, and I have to live here now. So the first thing we have to do is to legalize my situation, my status. So we send the application in with a check of $130, which now is like $1,000+. And then we go through the vetting process, fingerprinted, interviews, and the interview was separate first, and then together to make sure that we were not faking the marriage thing, like if I could. But anyway, I went through the whole process, and then on April 1995, I became a legal resident of the United States. Now, for 19 years, I thought, this is just enough. I don't need to pay all that money to become a citizen. I'm going to have similar rights. I'm working, I'm raising my kids, so I don't need to do all the extra stuff. But then in 2013, all this rhetoric about immigrants, it was 2013, 2014, all this rhetoric of immigrants started coming out and being very negative. So I thought, I think this is about time that I do something about it. So I decided to become a citizen. Again, vetting process. This time, it wasn't $130. This time, it was $680. And it went up to $725. We sent all the paperwork, get also interviewed again, fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards. And on August 13, 2014, I became a citizen of the United States of America. I was very happy. Thank you. I was very happy because I thought, now this is all good. I'm going to be safe. I don't have to worry about anything. But it's not really the case. Because what happens is that in the past, the idea of an immigrant was this person who is coming to America, work really hard, be determined, really strong, pursue the American dream, be the building block of the United States of America. That's what it was in the past. But it seems to be shifting a little bit. Now, what we hear about immigrants a lot of times is drug dealers, violent people, rapists, terrorists, taking our jobs, all these kinds of things that come with now being an immigrant, which is a different thing for anybody who is an immigrant. And my story is not like everyone else, because some of us are doing very well. We live our lives. We have a good life. We have jobs. So it is okay for a lot of us. But for some others, it's not. I had a choice. When I came to the United States, I chose to come here because I chose that to be my future. However, there are thousands of people that do not have the choice. The choice for them is either you leave or you die. And I think about that every day because we know so many people whose parents are immigrant. I worry about our alum who are from Iran, our friends from Lebanon. I worry about everything and how difficult it is for them to actually go to a safe place. This letter said that I represent the promise of the American dream because of my determination. And this great nation is now my nation. But is it really? Because when you see me, you see the color of my skin. You don't see my essence. You don't know who I am. When you hear me, you hear my accent. So people assume that I am from somewhere else. So the question is, where are you from? I usually say, I am from the U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen. No, really, where are you from? So there is an implication there that I am not from here, which is not true. I am a loyal citizen of the United States of America. I am proud to be American. And being an immigrant is not easy. Even that I took the choice, I came here by choice, but it's like part of your heart is ripped and left somewhere else, and you don't have contact with that anymore. We become in-betweeners, not from here and not from there. And it's hard. Now I understand that when my parents said, no, you cannot go to the U.S., they were thinking about me and them because they were children of immigrants. And they knew my grandparents had that little hole in their hearts because home was not home anymore. They could not go back home. So there was always that little bit of loneliness in them. So I think I understand now that I am an immigrant in the United States of America, what it means and what my parents meant when they say, no, you can't go. I have hope, even though things are a little bit rough. I have hope, and I hope that this letter becomes true for all of us. It says that since our founding generations of immigrants have come to this country, full of hope, full of brighter future, and they have made sacrifices, a lot of sacrifices, in order to pass the legacy of our children, legacy from your children and grandchildren. So I hope this becomes true for a lot of us. And in the words of Professor Stevens from the Ohio State University, he said a few days ago that I heard him, to all immigrants, to all the people who feel that they do not belong, you are enough. You do belong, and you are worthy. Thank you. Thank you.